Hey, welcome everybody. When you're joining, please let me know if you can hear me. I want to make sure that this is recorded. Yeah, I tried to attempt this yesterday, didn't work. I don't know what happened. The volume was non-existent, and I also had the sun in my eyes. So today is a little different. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how to leave the 9 to 5 for good. This is a Q&A session. And I already have some questions that some of the folks that I work with have asked me. And I want to share those here because I think it's going to be really important for you, especially as you're trying to think about how you're going to go from the 9 to 5 to your own lifestyle business, or how to go from employee to entrepreneur, how to do that for good, how to leave the 9 to 5 for good. And look, first of all, I get it. It can be overwhelming. It can be scary. I faced the same fears and doubts and uncertainty when I stepped away from corporate America back in 2017. Just a little bit about where I got my start from. So I really felt the urge to do something different back in 2012. I was a divorced dad working 40 plus hours a week in a corporate IT job. I had so many things on my plate, on top of wanting to spend a lot more time with my girls, Zoe and Arminda. And life was just about getting up in the morning on Monday morning, going to work, coming home, uh, you know, maybe watching TV until I went to bed, and then waking up and doing the same thing over and over again. And it just that routine was starting to really get uh, not only dull for my life, but it was really starting to impact my relationships. Work was demanding, becoming more demanding as time was going by. The hours weren't just 40 hours, that was a minimum. Um, and things started to heat up between my girls and my ex and myself, in the terms of I needed to step in and take custody of my girls. And so that was a very challenging situation and a time for my family, but a an opportunity came my way that was so uh, just powerfully impactful for me that I felt a huge pull to start focusing on it. So I remember it was about a week or so after I had broken up from a relationship, and I went over to a clothing store near me, and I was going to get some jeans. I think it was in Lucky Brand or whatever. And I was walking around the store, and I noticed there was another person hanging out on the other side of the store wearing a P90X hat. And this was P90X, is that program from Beachbody where you could actually get ripped in 90 days. Well, I was the very first success story for that program back in 2004. And I got a video to show it too, prove it. So anyway, but um, I went over to him and I said, "Hey man, have you done P90X?" He goes, "Yeah, I've done it. And I'm actually a distributor for the company now." I'm like, "What do you mean distributor?" So he started to tell me about how he was able to live and work full time as a Beachbody coach. And when he said that, the light went on. I'm like, "Tell me more. What is this whole thing about coaching? I can do this. Like, I'm still doing the programs." And so we talked about it. I shared my story with him, and he's like, "Well, you should become a coach." And I said I should become a coach. And so now it took me a little bit of time to kind of get started with it, but once I did, I was all in. And the wheels really started to turn. I really started to see that there was an opportunity here for me to go from employee to entrepreneur pretty quickly. And honestly, I didn't have much reality based in this dream. I had no plan. And so what I thought was going to happen was that I was going to become a coach, and within 6 months I was going to make enough money to be able to tell my job, "I'm out of here, I'm gone." Well, the reality is that without a plan, without a design, I really didn't have any clue about what was to be expected. It was a lot different than what I thought it was going to be. There's a lot of personal development that I needed to go through back then. And so that was one of the biggest benefits of that opportunity. Well, for the next 18 months, I focused on that and I really tried and I struggled and I barely grew. I tried to do more and more. And it wound up becoming a part of my reason for leaving the company I was working for at the time. In fact, my boss pulled me into his office one day and he started to ask me about this opportunity. He started asking about the supplements. He started asking me about the programs, and it was a really good conversation. And then, without notice, he just flipped on me and said, "Then why are you disparaging the company?" And I'm like, I kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he turns around and he grabs this stack of paper and he puts it right on the desk in front of me. I mean, this thing was stacked up. It had to be 3 reams of paper. And he carefully took the first top sheet off and he flipped it over and he goes, "This." And he shows me a post that I had made on Facebook 6 months before the time that we were talking, that it was a post that was actually reposted from somebody else. And I'm reading the post and I look down there and there's a highlighted part of it that said, you know, I realize that, times are tough. Companies aren't really giving out bonuses these days. So why don't you come and join us in this opportunity and maybe you can make a little extra cash this year? That's all that it said. And so I put the piece of paper down. And I laughed. Come on, man. I said, this was, look, it's an oversight on my part. I didn't mention our company, but he's like, it doesn't matter. He doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're putting you on a performance improvement plan. And I'm like, what? I knew what those things were. Those things are designed to get you out of the company. Well, at that point, I was really struggling because my daughter Zoe was hospitalized and I couldn't lose my health insurance. The thought of that freaked me out. I was already struggling emotionally, having to work with my daughter and help her through this hospitalization period. But I just like, okay, I'm going to do my best to kind of get out of this thing. I've never, ever been on any type of performance improvement plan before. And I can understand why the company, made that move. But I also found out later there was another motive behind it. But so I told my boss I was going to do my best to get off this thing. I worked my butt off for the next 30 days. In fact, right before I left my office that first day, and it went on the performance improvement plan, he said to me, it might be a good idea for you to get a babysitter for your daughter. So I kind of, stored it. I kept it, like, okay, there's something about this that feels a little bit off. I don't know. I'll do my best. I'm going to try my hardest. And I did. For the next 30 days. I actually turned some focus away from my daughter and put it back into my work. I didn't post about Beachbody at all for the next 30 days. And when I go into his office at that halfway point, I thought I had done better. I didn't like the situation again, but my job was there. I was getting the paycheck and all that stuff. And I sit down in his office and he goes, "How do you think you did?" I said, "I think I'm doing okay. I think I'm doing pretty good." He goes, "Well, that last report you sent me that goes to our boss, the big boss, it had a couple of punctuation errors in there. I really don't think this is working out." I'm like, you know what? At that point, this is just stupid. So I wound up thinking about it over the weekend. And I said, what am I doing? Why am I putting myself through this? This is just too much. So I sat down on Monday morning with the director of HR and just said, I think it's time for me to go. And they allowed me to take a 2-week. They give me a 2-week notice. They gave me a severance. That was good. And I'm glad because it actually gave me a lot of relief at that point so I could focus on my daughter. And when I left that job, I actually wanted to focus on the business again, but I hadn't done much with it, not only since my daughter was hospitalized, but since the situation at work was getting really tense. And so trying to get back into it, to try to launch everything, to get it going to the point where I wouldn't have to go back to a job, it just wasn't realistic at that time. I didn't give it enough time. I didn't give it enough of my experience and all that. So uh, I started to work. Before I did have to go find another job, and I did, and I found this wonderful job downtown Boston, and it started about a month after I left the other job, and things were good there. I had a great boss. The company was smallish, 150, 200 people. I had a great team, and I was really enjoying this new gig. And then 3 months in, my world completely broke apart. My daughter Zoe took her life, and I didn't know what to do at that point. All I knew was that at that point, a lot of things shifted in my life about what was important most. Of course, I had anger about my previous job, that situation. I had anger about a lot of things. I also had a lot of sadness because my daughter had just died, and her friends were asking me, "What are we supposed to do with this?" There was a lot going on, and it actually reinforced my desire to spend more time with the people that matter most to me. And so the company that I was working for, again, new company, um, they were fantastic. I cannot say a bad word and won't, because they told me that I could take as much bereavement time as possible, and they really supported me, and I really appreciate that for them. And that's rare for a lot of companies. So, but uh, I eventually did go back to work, and I started to really kind of get back into the Beachbody coaching, and I really worked at it and worked at it and finally got myself to a level to where I was starting to earn some pretty decent cash every month. Wasn't enough to replace my income, but I was on my way. And so I kept going with that. But then there was this another bug in my ear of Zoe's friends and my family and others asking me how I was able to move through the grief of my daughter and get back up and try to keep living beyond the loss. And I found myself starting to coach others. And I found also some mentors and some coaches who really helped to change my trajectory and focus on coaching, speaking, and training as being a calling and a purpose-based calling. And look, it was to serve folks who were struggling with the loss of a loved one. And so I actually stopped coaching in Beachbody and turned my focus in early 2017 to the coaching, speaking, and training of through grief recovery. And with that, I spent the next few years working on building this business, trial and error, hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment into coaching and training and mentorship. All of it, I absolutely loved. I don't regret any of it. I've learned a lot. And my business, though, didn't grow as quickly as I wanted it to grow. And it got to a point where the workload was starting to really pick up. The hours, the time on my day was starting to pick up. And I really wanted to do something different. I just felt the calling to serve people through my coaching, training, and speaking. And so in mid 2017, I just made the decision that I'm stepping away. Now, I had a plan, but it wasn't well organized. I had opportunities that were lining up for speaking, and I was already working with some people who were coaching with me. And when I stepped away in October, I was just about ready to launch my new book. I thought that was going to blow up and become, speaking and training and coaching opportunities for people that read the book. And I quickly learned that that was going to be a real big challenge, especially without having a full design and knowing who I'm helping. A lot of questions that I had no blueprint about what I was going to be doing overall. And so for the next year and a half, I fumbled around quite a bit. I did work, I did speak, I did coach, I did train. It was periodic. It wasn't as consistent as I'd like it to have been. It certainly didn't replace my income that I was making in my job. But the fact that I was no longer tied to a 9 to 5 job was absolutely fantastic. It gave me the freedom to then focus on my business. So reality steps in. I actually need to go back into the IT world as a consultant for a few months. Got another opportunity to not only coach some people there, but after that, I sold my house in Massachusetts, moved up to Maine. And one of my coaches and mentors had noticed that I was really working hard on my business. He kind of ran the same type of business. And so I put that business together. I was invited to join the team as a coach and then to run the business day to day. So it was going to be my job to put the whole business operations plan together and to run this thing so that my coach and mentor, now my boss, could go and do the speaking and training that he wanted to do. And working with him, he took me under his wing from a sales perspective, business development perspective, people leading perspective. I'd led teams before, but I'd led IT teams. This was leading an entire organization. And finances. Didn't have much clue about finances. And again, I'm looking back on the previous years of running my business. I now understood that I was missing some key components. So I ran that business for about 3 years. And at the end of 2022, the business wanted to take a different direction. The business was going in a different direction. And so I stepped away. And the timing was perfect. When I say I stepped away, it was that the organization was going in a different direction and they let me go. And there's no harm, no foul. I still have a very good friendship with my former boss and his wife and his family. I'm grateful for that. And again, they taught me so much, and I'm so grateful for that. But I made a declaration that day that I was never, ever going to go back into a 9 to 5. Come hell or high water, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to go in and I'm going to figure this out. And so I did that. I went ahead and I just put my foot down and said, I am going to run my coaching, speaking, and training business fully now. I'm all in. That was the difference that I didn't have. That was the difference from then to 2017. I didn't go all in then. And so this was different. I had literally was burning the boats. I'm not going back. And so I jumped in, and that's the day that the Grit Guy was born. So for quite a while I'm coaching, speaking, and training in the realm of grief recovery, I've been building this business, my lifestyle business, all along through all my trials and errors, through all the ups and downs, through all the financial challenges. And what I noticed to be the biggest shift was not only helping people to get organized with their life, but to help them transition from their struggle to the strength that they wanted to have in their lives. In this case, with the lifestyle business, it's going from employee to entrepreneur. I know that path. I've walked that path. Now I want to help people to walk it as well. And so it took a long time to kind of share that story, but there's a purpose for that, okay? That when you are facing the same challenges in your life and you want to go from employee to entrepreneur, it can really be a daunting task to even consider that. And you don't have to be alone with it. And so, but the big problem with this is that there's a lot of stability, quote unquote, security and stability that come along with a 9 to 5 job. The security is that, well, I've got the job. I've got a steady paycheck. I know that Monday morning when I wake up, I'm eventually going to get paid for the work that I do. That is for as long as you're employed there. And it may not be that easy to be able to do that when, in this day and age where there's layoffs and companies are trimming roles like people trim their hedges. It's crazy. And it's not getting any better. And not only that, but even if the company is doing okay, if your team changes size because of decisions that are being made, they may not hire more people. They may just say, you know what, we're not going to bring anybody in right now. For now, we want you to do this extra work. So this workload of one person gets distributed across others. Now it feels like you have to be there. Now it feels like you're more obligated. Now it feels like your work-life balance is absolutely gone. And that can be really challenging for a lot of people these days. Why? Because if you're like me, what matters most to you isn't your job. It is the people that you spend the most time with. It's your family, it's your friends, it's your home, it's your vacation, it's your time for you. It's taking care of your life. It's doing some of the things that you enjoy doing. And look, the purpose of us working isn't just to kind of keep the lights on at the house. It's so that we can actually live. Most people wind up getting to retirement age and barely living beyond that because they're either broke or they haven't saved enough for retirement, or name the situation. Okay, it's possible. So the reason that I'm sharing all this with you is that there are things that could come up, especially questions when you're considering going from employee to an entrepreneur. And that's the purpose of this live session here. Okay. So one of the questions that I received from my audience is, how do I know if I'm ready to leave my 9-to-5 job and start my own business? And I love this question because I think the answer is in the actual, is in the question itself. So for a lot of us, we don't have enough money stored up to start a business, basically shut off a 9-to-5 job and just open the doors of a new business. Some do, and that's great if you do. But for the majority of people, it's really not possible just to say, today I'm gonna become this and then do that. There is a time period that it takes for you to become the person that you're meant to become. And you can accelerate that path by having a design and an idea of what that is, understanding what vision you have for your life, and who you want to serve, what skill sets can you bring to the table to help them with, and connecting with people and validating your idea. But to know that you're ready to leave your 9-to-5 business or 9-to-5 job and start your own business, it's really about understanding your financial stability. Do you have a business right now that you can lean back on as a source of income or revenue? If not, then you're probably not ready to leave your 9-to-5 job. There is also another level of challenge that comes along with leaving your 9-to-5 to start your own business, in that a lot of people think that it's, I have to shut off one to start the other, and that's not realistic. The good news is that you can actually start your online business before you leave your 9-to-5. And when I say online business, that could be any business. Okay. I'm going to share with you a little bit of ways you can do that too. So I hope that helps with that question. How do I know if I'm ready to leave my 9-to-5 job and start my own business? It is about being prepared. It is about planning. It is about designing. It is about getting your blueprint. It is about understanding the path that you want to take. It's about your vision, because your vision, that's where it all starts, by the way. Your vision is where it starts. If you don't have an idea of what you want to do, what your ideal life is going to be like, then you're just going to be winging it. And I would rather see you take some steps to build a foundation for this new business before just stepping out of a door of your job and saying, okay, today I'm this, and struggling for the next few years, because it won't be a pleasant experience. Entrepreneurship actually can be fun. And I've had a ton of fun with this. It's been stressful at times, but it's a different stress than a 9-to-5 stress. Okay. That's the first question. Second question is, what steps should I take to prepare financially before quitting my job? And I love this question because if you, again, if you don't have the financial means to be able to leave your 9-to-5 job and just start your own thing, then it's going to be a big burden on your checkbook. Okay. Why? Because without any planning or without any means to start up your business, it can be very expensive on you and your family to go month to month waiting for your business to grow to the point where that revenue matches what your previous job was giving you for income. And it could take years as well. Again, with a plan, you can accelerate that and accelerate getting to your income point. And so if you want to make sure that you are financially prepared, I'm glad that you're actually looking into this as a question, because to have a financial runway, or at least understand what's needed to get you from where you are right now to where you want to be financially, for enough for you to be like, okay, I'm actually, my revenue from my business is matching my income level or greater than I was getting in my job. That might be a good indication that you're ready to step away from your job. Okay. So it's kind of a roundabout way of explaining that one. But either way, you want to have a good financial runway. You want to be able to see that you've got the plan for revenue, that you're actually starting to earn revenue, and that revenue is building. It's not necessarily, 1 month you're making 3,000, next month you're making 1,000, next month you're making 10,000, next month you're making 1,000. Like, you want to make sure that the income growth and the revenue growth is consistent and growing over a period of time, so that it eventually will match the revenue that you're making in your job at the minimum. So great question. I love that one. Let's see. The next question is, what are some common challenges that new entrepreneurs face, and how can I overcome them? Again, I love this question. I think it's really good, because as new entrepreneurs, there's a lot of questions that come up. There's a lot of challenges that come up, especially if you've not run into this type of challenge before. Look, in a 9-to-5 job, you've learned how to deal with navigate those challenges as you've learned throughout your career. Maybe you stepped into a pitfall in one job, learned that lesson, figured it out, and then the next job, when that same pitfall showed up, you were able to jump over it or go around it or avoid it completely because you learned something. Entrepreneurship is no different. Okay. The good news is that with entrepreneurship, you can connect with others who are also running into the same challenges that you are, and they can share their wisdom with you. You can connect with coaches and mentors who have been there, who have been through every pitfall, whether it's people, finances, product development and launch, business growth, scaling, all of it. And they can help you to kind of navigate those challenges so that you have some answers. When you're in a 9-to-5 job, that's really hard to do that. It's really hard because you feel like you're kind of on your own. But with entrepreneurship, there are plenty of communities that allow you to help connect you to your goal, your purpose, your why, your vision, and go with that and build with that to avoid those pitfalls. So that's a wonderful question. Another challenge is that a lot of new entrepreneurs feel like they have to double their time, especially if they're still working in their 9-to-5. They feel like they have to double the time that they're working, and that's not necessarily the case. I think a lot of the time up front, in order to get your business off the ground, there is a pool of time that is related to the design and the planning of your business, who you're going to work with, what you're going to do for them. But once you have that nailed down, that time then turns into actually paid time back to you when you connect with your right client and you start working with them. And that's just one of those things that it's like, okay, now this time is actually, you don't feel like you're spending time. You feel like you're actually getting paid for your time. And that's really cool. It's not trading time for dollars in this case, but you're actually doing the thing that you want to do. And I don't feel like it doesn't feel like work at that point. So time is kind of viewed differently between a job, a 9-to-5 job, and the work that you're doing as an entrepreneur. So wonderful question there. Another question that came in is, how do I handle the fear of failure? And again, I really love this question. I think it's really powerful because the fear of failure is real. I had that same fear when I had left. You heard my story that, I had some uncertainty. I didn't have the customer base that I really should have had. The financial foundation wasn't as strong as it could have been, and I struggled with that. Yes, I constantly had that fear that I was going to fail and that other people who are around me asking me, well, why are you doing this? Why don't you just stay in your job? I didn't want them to be right. So I was going to fight. I was determined to make this happen because I wanted to not only prove myself right, but I wanted to be able to shut them up. None of the, this is a journey that a lot of people won't take. And so it's normal to have that fear of failure. There's normal to have other fears. Again, will I have business next year? Will I be able to support the family? Will I be able to keep the lights on at the house? All these questions come up, and each one of these questions can be mitigated, and they get mitigated by taking action. So if we have those fears, what are some things that we can do? And this is a question back to you. What are some things that you can do to actually mitigate those fears? When they come up. So if I'm afraid that I'm not going to have enough client base, I just need to be talking to more people. I need to get myself in front of more people to talk to them the right way. I need to make more connections, build more relationships. And that's key, by the way, relationships. Okay. So again, wonderful question there. How do I handle the fear of failure when considering leaving my stable job? Oh, huge question. I hope that was helpful for you. The next one was, well, how can I build a customer base while still employed full-time? Again, wonderful question here, because this is where, again, people feel like, well, no, I can't build my business unless I leave my full-time job. Well, the good news is that when you're starting off and you've got clarity about your business idea, you've got clarity about the people you want to work with, you have clarity about the lifestyle that you want to live, it actually allows you to be able to manage your own levers and move your own levers as you need to in terms of volume. There's nothing that says that you have to start off with 10 people right away. While that would be ideal, we have to build capacity over time. And it's way better to validate your business idea with a few people, adjust it, launch again, and then you can actually expand because you've learned a lot about how to serve your clients and grow your business to the point where, especially if you're working in a job, how you can handle a few clients while you're still working your 9-to-5 and still get paid for those new clients. So it is possible. And again, as you're building building your capacity over a period of time, you're also getting better as a coach or a product seller, if you have a brick and mortar store or a service provider, whatever that may be. So you can build a customer base. It's really important to build a network, utilize the platforms online to build that network, get into other networks is a wonderful way of building a client base because you can connect in with people who are related to your topic. You can start adding value. You can start connecting with them. You can start inviting them to come and see what you've got. It's really a powerful way to build your customer base or even just your audience. Because a lot of people will be looking before they actually take action. They want to know if you're going to be in the game for a long time, and there's going to be others that are just going to raise their hand and go, I'm ready to go with you right now. So just know that you can do this, but you can also manage the volume of the people that are working with you. Okay. The next question is how do I maintain a work-life balance when starting my own business? And this is honestly one of the best questions I think I've ever gotten, because it can again feel daunting, where it's like, well, okay, well, I don't have a work-life balance today. How can I even consider starting a business if I don't have that work-life balance? Well, here's some things to consider. First of all, how is your day being managed right now? Does the day own you, or do you own your day? Meaning, who has control of your calendar? If you just let the day be the day without blocking time off on your calendar, you're letting the day own you. And so, and when starting a business, it's really important that you block off time on your calendar, and it stays, as my coach and mentor Scott Mann would say, it stays sacred, that nothing will interrupt that time. And so it's really important that you, I'm thinking I'm going to sneeze here, but that you prioritize some time to spend for your business each week. Look, even if it's a half an hour each day for the entire week, that is uh, that is almost what, 3 hours of time, that little over 3.5 hours of time that you can spend on your business towards getting it to where you want it to be. Maybe you have some time blocked off on the weekends for Saturday or Sunday, even if it's just a couple hours each day. But it is possible to do this. But no matter what, no matter where you block off your time, it is sacred. It does not get interrupted. It does not get deleted from your calendar. And if you're married or have a partner or spouse or a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it may be, or even a family, it's really important that you let them know that this is important for the future of this of the family dynamic here, and the relationships, because the goal is to help you become more available as time goes by, and as this business becomes you're able to run this business full time and fully leave your 9-to-5 job. So look, those are some of the questions I've received so far. I hope they're helpful for you. If this was helpful for you, please comment below. Let me know what resonated with you. If you have any questions, please post those below. I really appreciate you being here. I look forward to having more of these sessions and answering more of your questions. Until then, I will see you next time.